When you hear people talking about the modes on guitar, what comes to mind? Something like, it's all too confusing. I don't see why I would need it. Sounds really complicated. It's just a bunch of different scales. That's all just music theory stuff and I don't need to learn it. Well, today I want to put your mind at ease and show you a very simple way of understanding and playing the modes on guitar. Most importantly, I will show you some great resources and strategies in learning and applying the mode scale patterns that will help you take your lead guitar playing to a higher level. So let's get into it. The first thing we want to talk about is the major scale. Everything in music starts with the major scale. We want to start with the C major scale because the key of C has no sharps or flats. That would be like looking at all the white keys on a piano, which are all in the key of C major. The black keys are your sharps and flats. When you think of a major scale, I want you to think of it as 7 notes that keep repeating all over the fretboard. Each note has a number and a type of chord that is associated with it, as well as a mode scale pattern. It is important to learn the concept of half steps and whole steps. A half step is moving only 1 fret up or down on the guitar. A whole step is moving 2 frets up or down on the guitar. The major scale has a simple formula of half steps and whole steps that stays the same no matter what key you're in. Let's take a look at this chart so you can get a good visual picture of these concepts and each mode scale pattern. Like I said, we are going to start with the C major scale. Notice the whole steps and half steps. The half steps in any major scale are between 3 and 4, which for the key of C is E and F. Then between 7 and 1, or your octave, which for the key of C is B and C. Notice how that same formula applies to each of the other major scales I have listed here. As you can see, each number has an interval, a chord type, and a mode associated with it. No need to worry about trying to memorize all the mode names at first, as that will come in time. Modes can be explained in different ways, but I prefer thinking of them as scale patterns that start on each number or scale degree in the major scale. Here are 3 strategies that I use to simplify all of this. Number 1, focus on the top E string and the bar chord and mode scale pattern for each number. Once you know where your 1 is, then you go from there using the formula we talked about. So breaking down the key of C major, here is what that looks like. Take your C note, starting with the 8th fret top E string, and then we're going to go a whole step, that's your 2, another whole step, that's your 3, a half step to your 4, whole step to your 5, whole step to your 6, whole step to your 7, and then a half step to your 1 or your octave. Same thing with the key of G. Here's your 1, here's your 2, here's your 3, here's your 4, here's your 5, here's your 6, here's your 7, and now you're back to 1. Here is my C note, or 1, starting from the 8th fret. Here is the C major bar chord. Now here is the Ionian mode scale pattern that starts on C or the 1. So we start with our middle finger on the 8th fret top string, and we've got 2 notes, 8 and 10. Then on the 5th string it's going to be 7, 8, 10. Then it's going to be 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 10, then 8, 10, then 7, 8. So we start from C, we end with C. Once again, looks like this. Next is our 2. We have our D minor chord starting on the 10th fret. And the D Dorian mode scale pattern looks like this. Top string, we've got 10, 12, 13. 5th string, we got 10, 12. D string, we've got 9, 10, 12. G string, 9, 10, 12. B string, 10, 12, 13. And E string, 10, 12, 13. So it looks like this. Again, we're going from D to D, but you can use the whole scale pattern. Next is 3. We have an E minor chord starting on the 12th fret. And the E Phrygian mode scale pattern looks like this, starting with our top E string, 12, 13, 15. Next string is 12, 14, 15. Next is 12, 14, 15. Next is 12, 14. Next is 12, 13, 15. And then 12. And you could end right there because we're going from E to E. Or you could go on up, which would be 13, 15. So the whole pattern looks like this. Now here's the same thing starting with the E open string, which is an octave lower. Here's your E minor chord, and here's your E Phrygian scale. Next is 4. We have an F major chord starting on the 1st fret. And the F Lydian mode scale pattern looks like this. Again, going F to F. And here's my number 2 strategy to simplify things. For the Lydian mode, you don't need to learn a new scale pattern. You really are just using the 3 or the Phrygian mode pattern, but starting on the F note. So once again, looks like this. Next is 5. We have a G major chord starting on the 3rd fret. And the G Mixolydian mode scale pattern looks like this. Once again, we're going G to G, but we're going to start with our middle finger on the 3rd fret. So it's going to be 3, 5, 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 5. Now we've got 2, 4, 5. Now we jump up to 3, 5, 6. And then we're back to 3 right there. So once again, if we want to take that scale pattern all the way through, it would look like this. Next is 6. We have an A minor chord starting on the 5th fret. And the A Aeolian mode scale pattern looks like this. Once again, A to A. We're going to start with our index finger, 5th fret. So we've got 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8, 5, 7. Then we move down to 4, 5, 7. Then back up to 5, 6, 8. And then 5. If we want to finish out the scale pattern, it would be 7, 8. So it would look like this. The last one is 7. Technically, it is a B diminished chord, so I'm not using a bar chord like we did 1 through 6. But starting on the 7th fret, the B Locrian mode scale pattern looks like this. Notice again that you don't have to memorize another scale pattern. All you need to do is be in the Ionian mode scale pattern starting on the B note. Or we can go back to our Aeolian mode scale pattern starting on the B note. So now for my strategy number 3 to really simplify all of this for you. Because we don't need to learn a separate scale pattern for 4 Lydian or 7 Locrian, we only need to memorize 5 mode scale patterns, each starting from the top E string like we talked about. And they are 1 Ionian, 2 Dorian, 3 Phrygian, 5 Mixolydian, and 6 Aeolian. Now using these 5 modes and scale patterns, let's look at the key of C one more time. C Ionian, D Dorian, E Phrygian, G Mixolydian, and A Aeolian. And then we're back to our 1. Learning these 5 scale patterns will give you the ability to solo in any key all over the fretboard. Let's go back to our chart and look at the other examples of major scales we have. So your G major, your E minor is going to be your relative minor. Your D major, your B minor would be your relative minor. A major, your F sharp minor would be your relative minor. And then your E major, your C sharp minor would be your relative minor. Always remember, most songs will either have a major feel or a minor or bluesy feel. You have to learn to use your ear and know where your root notes are, as well as hearing the chord progression and knowing which notes to emphasize. So using these different mode scale patterns is all about emphasizing different notes within the key you are playing in. I hope you are inspired to work on getting these scale patterns down, because I truly believe you will be blown away at how this can take your playing to a higher level. I have another video that covers these same 5 mode scale patterns in the key of G major. So click the video on your screen or the one I'll link below, and I'll see you there.